All eyes are on the horrible assassination of Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, someone who we share a network with on the Salem News Channel. The FBI just released an image of a person of interest and asking people to call in if you know who this is or you have any information. 1-800-CALL-FBI. I just wanted to make sure that that is out there and shared. It's a sad day for America, as we also are obviously honoring September 11th. I saw a friend of mine who's kind of posted, said that, this September 12th, 2001, us would not be very happy with the September 11th, 2025 us. And I think that that's a pretty stark reminder of where we were then and how far we've gone.
The effect that Charlie Kirk and Turning Point had on the political process in America, it really hasn't even been fully studied. But I really give them a lot of credit for Donald Trump's second re-election in his campaign when he ran again for a third time, because they were able to get to college campuses and convince enough college-age voters, which is typically, as someone who was a former youth director for President Bush, the 18 to 29-year-old vote is very difficult sometimes to get out to vote. And when they do vote, that's usually overwhelmingly Democrats. So anytime you make those margins closer, you're winning as a Republican. And Turning Point was changing things dramatically. I mean, I'd say next to the RNC, or maybe even equal to, they were the most effective grassroots conservative organization politically in the United States of America. And again, I just don't want to take away from any of what those accomplishments were that were made by Charlie Kirk as we mourn his loss and really mourn the loss and pray for his family, a young wife, 2 young children. And again, just the prayers that need to go out, and also the discussions about his life in a positive way, not just focusing on the rhetoric and the negatives, but the idea that this was about free speech in the United States of America, and we should be able to have free speech in the United States of America, even if it's tough free speech, without fear of being politically assassinated.
Truly the first politically motivated, what feels like a successful assassination attempt in our lifetime. You think about those moments in history, obviously JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr. These are things we talk about, in sort of a historical fashion now. But now for it to show up on our front door, as we are on the anniversary of September 11th, it all kind of just feels like it's coming down. And I think we have to, in a moment, say, I've seen so many good posts from people who I vehemently disagree with on most issues, actually stand up and say, this is ridiculous, we can't do this anymore. And I'm proud of some of those. I've also seen the opposite. And I'll say to those people, I feel very upset for you that the darkness looks back in the mirror at you, that you can't see past a political difference. And it's upsetting because I think a lot of the people who probably inspired those people don't agree with that. But you have people who can get motivated, and these horrible things happen. And it's where we are as a country. We didn't agree with 100% what Charlie would have said. I don't think I agree with anyone who's on this network or anyone that's on this panel right now. That is not how it works in America or modern society. We all have our own minds. We all have our own decisions to make. And here we are, though, at a big, some people said, is this the America's turning point, where you do see a bit of a unification going. We've gone too far. This, plus September 11th, plus the attack in North Carolina, all of these things are building to something that is hopefully going to
attempts on President Trump,
to hopefully build to a point where we do have to course correct in a major way.
The manner of which he put conservatism out into the world was not by isolating himself from people who had ideas differently from him. The tragic irony of what happened to Charlie Kirk is that he was doing what the founders and what made our country great, which is going out and speaking to people on the other side. Yes, they would be contentious issues. They would be things that they vehemently disagreed, but he would speak with people that disagreed with them, give them a platform, allow them to speak openly in front of people online and share their voice. And he did it with respect, and he treated others as human beings and letting everyone voice their opinions. And yes, he wanted to change your mind. He wanted you to believe, because he was passionate in his convictions, in his faith, and in his politics. He wanted you to join that side, but he didn't disparage you or call you names or do anything but exercise the great First Amendment rights that we have in this country.
I know people who were not political who ended up becoming political activists, if you will, because their children introduced them to Charlie Kirk and introduced them to what was going on. And I mean that genuinely. Like, their high school kids said, "Dad, you need to see this." And people I knew who were historically apolitical, who did not care at all of a sudden really cared.
Charlie was a very close friend of mine, was an incredible champion of mine. I was on the Turning Point board for many years, and I only did it because Charlie asked me. And I think, I know this sounds so selfish, but I'm stuck in this mode of this last 24 hours of just thinking about me personally and my relationship with my friend. It's really devastating. I have had moments where I just think, you know what, this is just not worth it. I gotta just retreat, go live a different life, and retreat from all of this. And it's a very, very real emotion for me and for others. I spoke to Charlie multiple times a week. We were on a text chain of just a few people that really cared about issues. And, for me, Logan, I got to tell you that Charlie Kirk was the epitome. He was the tip of the spear of telling people to come to the front if you disagree with me. I will make sure that everyone around is quieted. You are going to get your time to talk to me and tell me what you think, and I'm going to calmly respond, and we're going to have a healthy debate that's calm. And Charlie was the first one to tell his own side, stop yelling, don't shout this person down. And eventually on college campuses, people knew if you came to a Charlie Kirk rally, you knew you were going to hear from people that disagreed, and they were having a safe space, if you will.
Pray for his wife, Erica, very young, and his two very young children who have lost their father. And, in any political discussions or the whatever happens with Turning Point USA, their dad is gone and their husband is gone. And they are very young kids who didn't get much time with their father who loved them. And so let's not forget that human angle, which I think hit us so hard yesterday, those of us who have young children and are involved in the political process, that, how quickly you can be going about kind of your normal practice, which this was for him, doing these events, and not make it home to see your family the next day or that evening. And of course, we're not promised any amount of days by our Savior, but again, the prayers, I think, for that family and really his wife and those two young children, they have a lot of trauma to work through.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it's going to be a trauma that is, it's all over the media as they grow up, as they get older. It's just a very tough situation. They're going to need a lot of prayer, a lot of support